Welcome to the Gray Area Podcast live. It is December 29th, 2023. Final gray area of the 2023 calendar year. It is Friends Friday. Really appreciate you joining me here live on YouTube. You can subscribe to my channel here at Kevin Gray Sports. You can also download and subscribe to the podcast wherever you get the podcast for free. Just search the Gray Area. You can download it on Apple Podcast, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcast for free. Make sure you give the podcast a 5-star rating and write a review for you while you're there. It's been a little bit since I've been on. It's been about 6 days or so. Obviously, the thing called Christmas thing was happening, so it took a few days off. But we are back as we get ready for not only the rest of 2023, but going into 2024. And I'm so excited for my guest today. She is one of the rising stars in this business, one of the, I like to call now, authorities when it comes to talking about the Dallas Cowboys. You can catch her Monday through Thursday on the hit show Girls Talk, Boys Talk on DallasCowboys.com, and the draft show, as it is draft season. I feel like it's always draft season.
It's coming.
It is coming.
Sooner, we're hoping.
That's right. That's right. Iisha Morrison joining me here on the Gray Area Podcast. Iisha, what's going on?
Hi, happy Friday. I feel special saying that this is your last show.
Yes.
I know all that. I know all that. I know it's the finale.
I mean, look, it is, the 29th, so it is like just a couple days before the end of the year. And it's funny because I approached you, what was it, Wednesday at practice, and I said, Iisha, you're going to be on the show on Friday, just so you know.
Not the word. I didn't get a choice. You said, you're going to be on my podcast on Friday. All right, bye. Break. I said, what?
Mm-hmm. Yep, I sure did.
But I'm happy to be here. I'm excited, man.
Well, I appreciate you hanging out with me for a little bit as Cowboys taking on the Lions. We'll get into the Cowboys and that game on Saturday. Jimmy Johnson going into the Ring of Honor, all kinds of stuff going on there. But before we get to any of that, you are someone who over the last, I want to say now, 2 years has really, for those who don't know and have come to know you and see you, whether it be on the draft show, DallasCowboys.com, Girls Talk, Boys Talk, over the last couple of years now, you have really taken this thing by storm and you have not let go since you've arrived on the scene. Where does that drive come from to not only continue to do what you've done, but to get to a space where you would not be denied no matter what that you were going to be doing, whether it be for the Cowboys, the NFL, whatever the case may be?
I think I just have a really deep desire to be better. And I understand, I think I have a decent level of self-awareness of where I am and what I need to get better, because I've been very open about the fact that I've learned football really on my own, so now that I've gotten into this space and networked, I take networking very seriously. That's why you got to be kind, because you don't know who you're talking to sometimes.
Yeah.
I'm using my resources in a way that I don't think, number one, the resources that I didn't think were ever going to be available for me, but I'm really starting to use my resources to my benefit when it comes to getting closer to the game, understanding it more. I'm in a place to where I really want to be taught. And so because of that openness, I think people are drawn to that. I think people are drawn to the humbleness of saying, I still have a lot to learn. And so it's been a good experience. And again, like football is ever evolving. It's always changing.
Mm-hmm.
So if you think that you know everything about the game, you're probably wrong. So that drive comes from just me wanting to get better. And if I'm going to be respected in this game, I want to be respected as one of the best, if not the best. So I'm a little competitive. So.
Which is good, not only in sports, but in business as well. When you're trying to get somewhere, having a competitive nature can take you a long way. And speaking of that, where did your love of football come from? How did you get into the game? What was the thing that drew you to football and why you wanted to not only love the game, but also pursue a career in the sport?
Yeah, I think it started early for me. I was always a tomboy. I was out there playing football on the concrete with the boys when I was young. But I really think it stems from my granddad and my two uncles who I lost during COVID. And I the time I got to spend with them watching football, like, I mean, on Thanksgiving and stuff, the ladies go to one room and they're like gossiping and chilling and whatever, and then the men go watch the game. And I wanted so badly to be around them and just to spend time with them. And so it was just kind of a part of it, just kind of hearing their little conversations back and forth. And I was like, "Ooh, I want to be a part. Like, I want to talk about it. I want to, I want to be involved." And so just seeing how passionate they were for it made me want to be more involved with it. But it also too made me want to just spend time with them. And it allowed me to be able to spend time with them and speak their language a bit. And it was valuable to me. I know they'd be extremely proud if they saw what I was doing now. And that drives me as well. But when I went to college, I went to the University of Northern Iowa. I don't, that's another story for another day. But but I ended up in Iowa. I was in a co-ed dorm and I lived down the hall from a lot of the football players. And
Hmm.
I would be coming back from lunch or coming back from class, and I would see them. They would always have their doors open. I would see them looking at film, and they would be talking, checking their notes and stuff. And I just started sitting in and asking questions and stuff. And once I started, it's just something triggered for me. Once I was like, oh my gosh, there's more. Like there's so much detail to this game. There's so much that goes into it. There was a passion inside of me to start learning even there. And so from there, I mean, they were willing to teach me. I started going to some of the games and stuff like that. And again, used my resources when I was there. And
Hmm.
um, yeah, I don't know. I just think it made me excited to know that there is more detail to the game, so I wanted to learn it, and that really opened up the door to me to start looking into the game in depth, and it really skyrocketed from there.
What did the players say when you started sitting and watching film with them?
It depends. Some of them actually, it's crazy because Carl Davis is on the team now. I know him from Iowa, and I actually
Hmm.
quite a few of the guys from Iowa because we would be. First of all, they thought I was crazy because what girl's gonna be doing that? But I mean, it's college, so you're at the
Yeah.
bars, you're wherever, and I would go up to them and I'd be like, "Yeah, I saw your toe tap today," and I was like, just talking to them like, "Yeah, man, I saw you diagnose and read that in the flat or whatever the case may be," and they were like, "What the heck?" But it was important to them. So they were willing to teach me because I was so excited about what they were doing on the field. But it was off putting for them at first. I'm not gonna lie. They was like, "What are you?" and, and a couple of them, even now, a couple years ago, because a lot of those guys I went to school with, they ended up getting drafted and stuff. So yeah, so I still like Desmond King's one of my guys that I would touch base with, and he really
Hmm.
helped teach me cornerback play. And so I remember telling him like one day I just reached out, was talking to him, and he was like, "You're really still into this?" I'm like, "What do
Like
you
I
want me
never
to
stopped. I
do?
never stopped.
What do you want me to do?" But they were surprised because it is, especially at that time, it was 10 years ago. So that
Yeah.
is, oh God, it was 10 years ago.
Hmm. Yeah.
It was definitely different at that time. I think women were just now starting to integrate into the space a little bit more heavily. So it was definitely different for them, but I'm glad that they were open to teaching me.
Yeah, and a willingness to learn and not only learn, but also start to apply it and talk ball and then be able to still keep going with it. And for someone, for you who loves the game and dives into the film study and all the things that come with that, what's it like as a woman diving into this space with the things that come with already the unfortunate things that come with for women, being in sports and some of the things and the challenges that come with that. What has it been like for you as an experience as you've learned and grown in the field that you're in now?
It actually has been, for me, it's been pretty natural in a sense. I mean, I served for 8 years. I so and I was also, yeah, I did private security and stuff like that. So I've worked in high frequency areas and male dominant spaces for a minute now. So
Mm-hmm.
very natural for me to integrate, and that's why I thank God for my experiences, and I don't question my journey, because I do think it has prepared me to be able to go into the locker room and speak to those gentlemen and understand a little bit of their routine and their struggles and stuff, because there are some similarities in lifestyle when it comes to playing a contact professional sport, and then also to being in the military. Not saying they're the same,
Mm-hmm.
but there are similarities in the lifestyle at times. So I think that really prepared me for it. And so for me, I've had a good experience so far. And I know that it is difficult for a lot of women out there to break into this space and to be respected. I lead with my empathy, but don't push me.
Mm.
So I think it's very important to me to lead with empathy in this game, especially since this is a rough and tough, kind of. I believe that, leading with that kindness and stuff has done some things for me and opened up some doors for me. And as far as the women in the game, I've had pretty good experiences there too, just networking, and had the opportunity to go to the combine this past year, and
Mm-hmm.
so many amazing women that are working hard in this business. So I think you got to find a good little nucleus of people who are goal driven just like you. And once you find that and you feel supported, I think things are okay. But it is difficult to navigate at times, because
Sure.
people think ladies can't talk ball and things like that. And I'm not in a place where I'm trying to prove them wrong. I just kind of do it. And if you don't like it, oh well. I'm oh well.
Do you feel like, because I feel like in times in my career, I feel like I've had to either over prepare or maybe overcompensate for things because I am someone who looks like I do, talking about sports all the time, and that necessarily isn't common in that way. But at the same time, knowing the confidence that you have within yourself to do the work and be able to prepare and then go out and do what you do you find yourself, when was that moment for you where you knew, like, okay, I'm good at this and I'm going to keep going with this based off of what I've been able to learn and grow in so far?
Oh man. So I call me a millennial, but I am not social media savvy. It is not my favorite thing in the world. And
Mhm.
I had a friend, actually people probably know Okoye Media. I don't know.
Yeah.
We were I would call him. This is before anybody knew who I was like that. I connected with some of the YouTube gentlemen just via Instagram and stuff, like, hey, I want to do this, give me some tips, whatever. And I remember I would just sometimes I just call him and talk, just be talking football. And I never forget, he told me, he said, I'm not answering the phone for you no more.
Mm.
Get on camera and you record something. And I was like, oh my chest. Man, but that push really did something for me. So obviously I started recording my little clips in my car, because that was the only place I was comfortable. And then I got on Twitter. It was a big jump for me to get on Twitter, because everybody knows Twitter can get a little Looney Tunes at times.
Yeah, it can.
And so I was
Still is.
nervous, so nervous at putting myself out there. But it took about I'm a Christian, so I asked God. I said, God, I'm about to put myself out there. Please give me the reassurance. You know my anxiety can't take it. Please give me the reassurance that this is what I'm supposed to be doing quickly. Lord, I don't need. Don't make me wait forever. And from me being on Twitter, I believe for 2 weeks, the response that I got from people, I said, okay, you can go do this. It didn't take much. I was like, okay.
Mhm.
I was reassured very quickly, because to that point, all this football was just in my head. It was in my
Just
head.
waiting to get out, just waiting to get out.
It was in my head, and I worked at Buffalo Wild Wings for 5 years. So again, sports bar. So it was in my head, or my poor tables was having to hear about it. I'm not,
Ma'am, we don't want to hear about the third and fourth play. We just want to get our rants for our wings, please. That would be excellent, please. Thank you.
you be, but honestly though, to that point though, that's actually where I got a lot of encouragement. And I used to do people's draft fantasy for them. I would do
Uh-huh.
Buffalo. They had them big old draft parties, fantasy parties and stuff. And it just felt like I was prepared to do this in a way. It's like you go from the barbershop talk, talking to your tables, to meeting players and stuff. I was ready, but that's how it came about. I got on the Twitter, and people were like, "Who's this bald headed lady?" I'm bald headed under here. And people was like, "Who is this bald headed lady and where she came from? Where she come from?" Start getting in the spaces. Shout out to Nick's giving me that platform and allowing me to get comfortable being on a mic. Because again, I never done this stuff before, and
Mm-hmm.
there and getting the followers and people wanting to include me and stuff. I was like, oh, okay, I'm not nuts. This is normal to love football this much. I got it. I got it. I got it.
Yeah. And it's funny because once you get into that space and you realize, okay, you can do this, the confidence starts to grow. You start figuring out different ways to be able to do this. And
Mhm.
for you, now that you're here, what do you now want to do continuing to move forward? Obviously, you're with the Cowboys, you're doing some different things there, and what that experience has been like for you so far. What is kind of the next frontier for you as you continue to grow in this
Oh yeah.
space?
My next frontier right now is again being humble about the fact that I've learned most of this stuff on my own, and
Mhm.
I'm extremely ready to be taught. So whatever my next move is probably going to put me in a position where I'm going to be learning and taking cues, and I want to get better in my evaluation process, where to look at, like, I watch film and I've been taught, and again, I'm being taught by some of the people, but I want to touch the game. Like
Yeah.
to I want to touch the game. I want to experience it on a real level. And so whatever my next move is, it's going to be me being probably under someone to be able to learn the intricacies of the game, because I see it and I can't explain to you why I see it. I see it and I understand it, but I want to get to a place to where I can teach. Because to your point about the women earlier, about women coming into this space, I don't think there's enough resources for women to learn film breakdown, evaluation at a,
Mm.
and I really want to be a bridge for that. Because I think I wholeheartedly believe if you have a gift and you're not using it to help other people, you're wrong. If you're only using it for your benefit, you're wrong. So that's my next step, is to get in a position where I can be taught, and then I can become the teacher so I can help young ladies around the world or the US that want to get into this game but feel like maybe they can't reach out to some of these male resources, can't get, some of the traction that they want. I feel like I have a unique way of come this is uniquely came about for me, and I want to share that with other people.
I love that. I love that because there's a lot of women who love not just the game of football, but sports in general, but don't feel like there are things that can connect them to the game, whether it be the NFL or the NBA, to where they can do that kind of deep dive and study to the sport that they love and then be able to share it and communicate it with others. I love that idea and being able to be someone who can start to put that out there because I watch, and you know how much I love your show with you, Jess Navarez, and Nicole Hutchison, and also Christy Scales, and before that, with Haley Sutton and others that have been on the show with Girls Talk, Boys Talk. I think one of the things I most enjoy about the show is that not only y'all have fun, obviously, with the show, but y'all know what y'all talking about. And I
Yeah.
think that's half the battle of being able to do this is, are you able to effectively communicate this information and make it digestible for individuals who may just be coming into the sport to be able to do what they want to do and learn more about the game? But it seems like for the three of you who do the show now, y'all have a lot of fun, but the most important part is y'all do the work to be
Yes.
able to have those kinds of conversations on a daily basis.
Oh yeah, we work extremely hard and we're very connective. And again, we use each other for information too. If there's something I don't know, I reach out to Nicole, I reach out to Jess, vice versa. If they are trying to understand more about film, they reach out to me. It's a unique situation because again, it's not always like that coming into this game with men or women. It can be up and down, so for us to connect, and again, that's something I had to learn myself. To your point, when you mentioned earlier about the compensating and stuff, I'll never forget that I had my talent coach, Jerry Madelon. He said, All those big words and stuff are for the other film gurus and stuff. You need to be
Mm.
of your audience. They don't understand half that stuff. You have to be able to speak to people on a very normal level, so they can to your point, so they can digest what you're saying and understand the game. So that's why I talk about it very raw. That's why I talk about it very like, I mean, that's why I use terms like drop that ass. I hope I can say,
Yeah.
but instead of because people will understand that when you're talking about a player's anchor, and what
Mm-hmm.
lineman's anchor, so that's something I've even had to, as you asked earlier, I've had to tell myself, Iisha, you don't have to prove yourself in that way. You can go ahead, you can speak to everyone and be cognizant of your audience and cater to them. That's who matters. That's who matters. And then off to the side, we can do all that fancy talk with the homies. But at work, we're trying to get people to understand the game and be able to enjoy it because they understand it.
So with that being said, let's dive into the Cowboys taking on the Lions. And I love this. We could do this all day, but I know you got your time. It's your day off, so I want to make sure I respect that. But I just love the ideas that you come up with to be able to do this, because I think it's very much needed in this space for someone who looks like you, talks like you, but more importantly, is good at what she does. So that to me, like I said, I could go on all day about that. But some folks, look, some folks came in like, talk football, talk about the game, damn it. Okay, we'll talk a little Cowboys, Lions.
They comment that right now.
No, I just know people when they watch the video back, they're like, hey, look, Iisha know ball. We want to hear her talk ball. So I'm going to give people a little bit of flavor of what you do in terms of talking ball, because the Cowboys come in here back to AT&T Stadium on Saturday night. Shout out to Jimmy Johnson going into the Ring of Honor. Can't wait. As a third-generation Cowboys fan, I'm so excited. My dad loves Jimmy Johnson. I love Jimmy Johnson. Shout out to Nate Newton, my dad's favorite player growing up. Being able to do shows with, I love Jimmy Johnson. So want to make sure to give him his flowers, because I'm excited to see him go into the Ring of Honor on Saturday. But the Cowboys lost 2 games in a row here. Lost at Buffalo, lost at Miami. Close game in Miami. I felt like mistakes on their own part cost them that game against the Dolphins. Now taking on a Lions team that's won a division for the first time in 30 years. They've got a lot to play for in terms of seeding. Cowboys trying to do the same. Right now, they're sitting at the 5th seed. What's been going on in your mind in the last couple of weeks about this team? What happened in Buffalo and then happening in Miami before they get back to AT&T on Saturday?
Oh yeah, I mean, I think you already brought it up. As far as what's been happening, I think a lot of what's been happening is them hurting themselves. I mean, because even when you look at that Buffalo game, things got out of hand really quick. It didn't take that long with the roughing the passer from Tank, and then they score. And then, if I'm not mistaken, there was the Jaron Curse penalty that prolonged their drive. They scored, and then you had, unfortunately, the Sam Williams penalty that kept them on the field. And from there, I mean, you've given them 21 points off penalties. And again, we go back to the offense. I personally think there's some the Cowboys do really well when the quarterback operates at a high level at the line of scrimmage. And on the road, when you're doing dummy cadences and all that stuff, the communication is on point. I personally think that the communication has done a lot and hurt them a lot when they've been on the road. And then again, you brought up the Miami game of inches, right? I mean, we talk about, Hunter Lipke fumbled on the goal line. It sucked. It was a fantastic drive. But then you hear Tony Pollard this week say, hey, if I get in there, that doesn't even happen. And it's just like these little things that matter. I will say that I was confident in seeing, it was good walking away with the confidence, seeing that offense and the quarterback go down there and drive, part of the game. Just wanted the defense to hold up a little bit better to finish out that game.
Yeah, and I think that's what bothered me about the game against Miami is you get that signature drive that you've been wanting to see the Cowboys go down, take the lead, and you're asking your defense to be able to get a stop, to be able to end that game after the offense has done the hard work to get you a lead in a game on the road where you felt like, despite the mistakes that you made to shoot yourself in the foot, you still had a chance to win the football game, and then you don't do it, which the last couple of weeks have bothered me from a narrative standpoint, because as someone who runs his mouth talking about sports all the time, there's a bunch of stories that come with these games, and the fact that, oh, Cowboys can't win on the road, can't win big games, can't execute and continue to shoot themselves in the foot with penalties. Can they win on the road against good teams when it matters most in the playoffs? Hello, San Francisco. Can you do it when it matters in the playoffs? Like, there's all these things that go into it that I felt like the last couple of weeks could have been answered that the Cowboys didn't do,
Fair.
which gives me pause about, okay, as good as this team is, and I still feel like this team is a contender as far as the NFC is concerned, will they do it when it matters most based off of what they haven't been able to do the last couple of years when it comes to beating good teams in the playoffs? Hello again, San Francisco.
Yeah, you're gonna have to see them folks. I will say, now the NFL schedulers didn't know this when they were doing it, I'm sure, but this was the Cowboys road teams that they played were sturdy road teams, and I do think that has had a factor. I think Nicole mentioned that. She was like, "Do you think it's the opponents too?" I'm like, "Well, yes, sis. I mean, that plays a role, but yeah, they need to find whatever. To me, I think it's important for them to find whatever it is, find something to hold their hat on when it comes to going on the road, whether it's a small change in routine or it's just something little. I wasn't completely disheartened by what they did in Miami. I mean, I thought the defensive scheme and what they chose to do and elected to do to kind of keep those guys at bay was smart. um I wanted a little bit more from the pass rush. I did, but I understood that Tua was getting the ball out. I felt like they could have been a little bit more aggressive on third downs, at times, and because you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't, if you press with the. So the best thing to do, which is going to be the same thing this week, how you win the game by affecting the quarterback in these next two, in Miami and in this next game. That's how you win the game. And so I didn't think that they affected the quarterback enough in Miami, but I still thought that the game plan was smart in a sense. A lot of people are like, why are they playing the soft zone?
Have you seen Tyreek Hill?
Yeah.
Have you seen Jalen Waddle?
Yeah.
Have you seen these cats?
And I could have, and again, I do think, even if you are playing zone, you can still kind of check guys at the line. You can still do some things and kind of redirect them. So, but offensively, to me, I think this offense has to be more consistent. And I understand there were some big plays that were on the table with some of the stuff that happened at left tackle last week, which is why hopefully Tyron going this week could be huge. But for me, I feel like they have the opportunity to go up against Detroit. I've heard their head coach say it just the same as Mike McCarthy. It's like the 2 seed's important to them too.
Yeah,
they're the 2 seed too, so they're not necessarily going to come out here and just not, put out a great effort. And again, we know a lot of people, it's crazy because I do think that a lot of time we look at teams and we're like, okay, well, how do we beat them? People are like, how do we beat the Cowboys?
Yeah.
At home especially. So I do think they're going to come out and be aggressive and really try to take it to the guys. So they can do some things in this game that will ease me. I'm looking for a complete game.
Yeah.
Because I don't know if we've seen a complete game since maybe Seattle, where it's like the defense got stops when it needed to, the offense was clicking on all cylinders, and special teams, which played a big role in you losing last week. To me, starting field position whooped your tail.
Yeah.
Those made their money last week. So I do think I need to see a complete game from them at home tomorrow to give me some peace, because the road stuff is just, it's gonna be whatever. I honestly, Kev, I'm gonna take some time though, and maybe somebody that's better at researching can. I'm just wondering when this has been such a big conversation. With
Oh boy.
beating good teams on the road. Newsflash, there's only like 10 good teams in NFL right now.
That's a different conversation too. How many actual quote unquote good teams are there actually in the league? But it feels like the ones that the Cowboys keep playing, they can't beat. So whether it's San Francisco, Buffalo, Miami, I'm gonna throw out the Arizona game because that's always been an outlier for some reason when it comes to the Cowboys playing against the Arizona Cardinals.
Are they cursed against Arizona? I need I need Arizona to do the same thing they be doing to us to Philly. But
Exactly.
I'll never understand that. No, to your point though, like yeah, the teams that the Cowboys have played on the road have been heavy for the most part. They've played some of the top teams, and not only have you played the top teams, because this is something that Demarcus Lawrence said to me in the locker room, and I'll wrap up. He said, I asked him, I said, so what happened in Buffalo, and he said our approach, because you got to think. Buffalo is playing for their life.
Yes.
They're just
Desperate football team they were that day. Yes,
yes.
agreed.
You either have to match their desperation, which again, I know psychologically it's hard. I think that's something people don't talk about enough, is the fact that yeah, you do have to pull yourself up to this level of intensity or you got to surpass it. And so I believe that with Miami, and less Miami, but more Buffalo, is that their approach, as DeMarcus Lawrence said to me, it was not as intense, I don't believe, as the opposing team. And when you're going on the road and it's a hostile environment, you either got to match that energy or you got to take it to them. And I think that's something they haven't done consistently.
Well, appreciate LMAO for the super chat. Appreciate that, dropping that in there. I'm not gonna put it up on the screen because they had a mistype and then they corrected. But I appreciate the super chat. Thank you so much for hanging out with us here. And look, that's what I hope. And again, someone who runs their mouth talking about this thing, that the narrative changes about this team after what happens on Saturday, because they should beat down Washington in the final game of the regular season. So this is their last opportunity to really prove to a lot of us that this team is capable of beating good teams. And with them being, they're a 5.5 point favorite at home. And I think a lot of that is on the strength of they just whoop people at AT&T Stadium for whatever reason. It doesn't matter who the opponent is. Hello, Philadelphia. They just beat everybody up at AT&T. So I'm expecting them to win, but at the same time, I've got to know going into the playoffs that this team is capable of beating some of the teams that you look at and say, okay, they're on the short list of contending for a Super Bowl. And it's funny you talk about, the whole road record thing and beating good teams. I'm trying to think. Ed Warder had a tweet the other day about some of the road records, some of the worst road records to get to a Super Bowl. And I think one of the teams was the 2018, 2017 Patriots. They were 3-5 on the road and wound up, of course, going to the Super Bowl. And, what happened there, that particular day, shout out to Atlanta. And then, so there are teams who have bad road records that can get to a Super Bowl. It's just uncommon in that way. And I don't know, based off of what the Cowboys have done to prove otherwise, that they're going to have to show that come playoff time. And I guess we'll find out, here rather soon once the playoffs start, because they'll wind up, most likely, there is a small path to getting the number one seed, a very small one. Some wild things have to happen. San Francisco's got to lose out. I think Philly has to lose one of the last two games, and the Cowboys have to win out, for them to get in. So they're most likely locked into the 5th seed, which means, okay, you're going to see Baker Mayfield and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers as of right now on the road. And low key,
they've been playing some ball.
They've been playing really, really well. Now, I'm not saying Baker Mayfield's will go out here and light the world on fire, but the way he played against Green Bay, Tampa is a decent football team that you can't take lightly. I'm not saying that the Cowboys are going to lose to them, but this is not a team that you should take lightly on the road, because Tampa's been playing some good football around them. In Los Angeles, the Rams scare the hell out of me, because the Rams are playing some good football right now too. And Stafford's playing at an all-pro level over the last several weeks. Him and Puka Nacua and those boys are out there throwing the football over the place. And Kyron Williams has been really good running the football for them too in Los Angeles.
Oh yeah, I think he was out. Was he out when the Cowboys played him? I don't.
Yep.
I can't think he was a little banged up. I don't remember, but I will say when it comes to the road and whatever the case may be, I think familiarity matters as well. You went on the road. You lost to Buffalo. You lost to Philly, barely. Lost to Philly. You lost to Miami. You ain't about to have to see these people like that. So for me, I do look at the fact that, because uncommon opponent it means something. It does.
Yeah.
And I felt like Buffalo was like that too, because not only are they an uncommon opponent, they're totally different from even the start of the season to now what they have become offensively, is specifically. So I do think that you going up against a team like Philly or San Fran in the playoffs, or even the Bucks, they're similar in what they were last year. They just have a different guy at quarterback. And I mean, is Baker Mayfield better than Tom Brady?
We're not gonna do this. We're not gonna do this.
I'm just,
Mm-mm.
I'm just saying.
No.
But don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. I do.
Baker playing some good ball, and Tom wasn't great last year.
He
Tom
was
wasn't, even though he was still setting records in his final, season in the NFL, but he wasn't great. They had no running game. That was the thing about Tampa last year. They had
that's
no running game to speak of, and Tom had to throw the ball a bazillion times a game to keep him in football games. They still wound up with a losing record winning
mm,
the division last year. So at least Baker Mayfield, Mike Evans is still a monster. He's been great for them.
good.
It feels a little different though in Tampa based on the way that they're playing
Yeah, they
right now.
believe in him. I think they believe in what Baker is doing right now, and why wouldn't you? Like he's been out there. I'm all for guys getting better. That's why I liked seeing the Browns win with Flacco. I do. I do.
You was funny last night tweeting about that too, about Joe Flacco and his 85-year-old self out here throwing for a bazillion yards. And
Boy,
last week hooking up with Amari Cooper. That game made me so mad last week watching Amari Cooper go off for, what was it,
y'all,
265 in Houston.
y'all gotta let it go.
I will not. I
It's
will not. I
now.
will forever crush this team for that. I will never let that go for as long as I live. We'll never let it go. Sorry, not sorry.
No, I think a lot of people wrote Bake off, and
Mm-hmm.
he was going to be a contending quarterback. And so again, with a league where QB play is down, to see a guy go into a new system, go to a new team, get a fresh start, and you see the team rallying around him, is good for football. So I'm never going to hate on it. So I am enjoying Mayfield's reemergence as a
Yeah,
quarterback in this league. Yes.
him and Joe Flacco getting off the couch and
I
you know.
cannot believe, like, I'm serious. Like, I don't know how far they go, but this is it's impressive. I'm sorry to say it. And again, I know like they have their few hiccups or whatever because he's still learning
Mm-hmm.
offense. He just got there, but
Yeah.
I saw somebody tweet. They said like that lets you know how much of that position is up here.
Yes.
And I'm just like, I don't know. I'm so baffled at the fact that he's really playing football at this level after just being like, I'm chilling at home. And I bet you there's some other teams that wish they would have called him.
Watching the way that he's playing. Here's what's weird about Cleveland. So defensively, they're really good. They got a defensive player of the year candidate in Myles Garrett, all world. We know that. But you talked about the experience factor with Flacco. As much as we joke about the elite this and the elite that, he's been there, taking a wild card team and won a Super Bowl and had one of the great postseason runs in NFL history. If you go back and look at the numbers, Flacco in that Super Bowl run for Baltimore was fantastic for them all playoffs long. So I'm not saying that Cleveland's about to go to the AFC title game and make a Super Bowl run, but there is something to a guy that has been there, done that, with a defense that's really good, decent run game, even with Nick Chubb, having been injured, throughout the course of the year. They've got good receivers there with Amari Cooper. Like, they've got some pieces that make you think you might not want to play Cleveland in the wild card round or in the divisional round, because you might find yourself on the wrong end of a loss there when it comes to Cleveland.
Yeah, because their defense has been so good this year that, I mean, you just need the quarterback to do just enough depending on
Mm-hmm.
So with Flacco coming in, and I mean, he's not shying away from nothing. He's throwing bombs out there.
Beautiful football too. Amari Cooper talked about that in the game against Houston. He's like, look, man, Flacco throw a beautiful ball, man. It's easy to catch. Was able to. I was like, all right, Amari, we get it. You're out here balling. We get it. All right,
He's having a good time.
He's having a good time. He's been really good for them.
But yeah, now the injury to Elijah Moore last night, I think it was Elijah Moore.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was
scary. Very scary.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping that he's okay. It was good to see him get up and walk and be okay and everything. But yeah, to your point, their receiver core is a little banged up right now. Hopefully they can get healthy getting into the playoffs and make some shake. And listen, AFC playoffs is going to be interesting to me.
It is. I look at Baltimore. I feel like Baltimore, best team in the AFC right now. But on any given Sunday, Buffalo could beat you. We know Kansas City, with all their struggles and dudes, you and I can go catch the football better than any of these receivers these days in Kansas City at this point.
They're going to
because look, they are. I feel bad for Mahomes in a way, but then again, I look around at Kansas City and think, what did you think was good? Look, here's the worst thing that happened to Kansas City. They traded away Tyreek Hill, and Patrick Mahomes messed around and still won a Super Bowl without him. Like, oh, you can do this without arguably the best receiver in the league? You don't need a bunch of dudes out here catching the football. You can just go make it happen. And these dudes can't catch a cold right now in Kansas City.
Cowboys didn't go to no Super Bowl, but this sounds so familiar. I just feel like we've been here before. I just and so again, I feel for Pat, but at the same time, I'm like, ain't nobody feel bad for my quarterback at all. All. Nobody empathized for him. Nobody empathized for him when he freaking broke his thumb last year and he had to come back and he was throwing picks. He was like, why are you throwing picks?
Because half his interceptions were getting dropped.
Tipped.
Yes.
Listen, I'm just saying, like, even Purdy the other night, people was like, these are tipped its. Y'all were counting my quarterback's interceptions at training camp.
That's right.
Y'all better get out of my face. Get out of my face. I ain't about to sit up here and feel sorry for these people. We've been there. I understand. Now, granted, I know, yeah, these guys got a job to do. They need to do their job. But as far as, like, I feel so sorry for Pat. False.
I'm just low-key glad Brock Purdy removed himself from the MVP conversation, because I could not live in a world where Brock Purdy was the NFL's MVP. Couldn't do it. Can't do it.
Listen, let me keep it 1,000 with you. When I look at MVP, I look at it very literally. Who is the most valuable person on your team and why are you winning? Respectfully, I wish that Joe Flacco would have been playing more of the season, but he's been. What is MVP?
They tell me it's the most valuable player, but there's a lot of loose definitions around that. So many different definitions around that.
Purdy can't get it if McCaffrey's on his team. Like, the man has 20 touchdowns.
Yeah.
As a running back, I'm just saying, like, I take the award very literally, literally, to a point to where, even though I think Dak's been playing phenomenal, I don't think that he qualifies if you're talking about who is the most valuable. I think he's been the most valuable to the Cowboys, but overall, when you look across the NFL, what particular player has really propelled their team to be in the position they're in? I think there's so many different guys you could be looking at, and it shouldn't just be a quarterback. I heard Micah say it the other day. It shouldn't just be a quarterback thing at this point, especially if there's only like 10 good quarterbacks in the league. That's why every week it's like you're the MVP. You're the MVP. Because any given Sunday, your MVP can go out there and look like the not MVP. And so you mentioned the Ravens being the clear best team in the AFC. Sometimes, if you watch them through the season, they've had losses and moments where you're just like, what's going on here?
Yes.
Every team has had that. That's my point. Almost every team's had that this year. So again, them just forcing it to be a quarterback award, I don't like, because I think there's been so many other players that have helped their team get to the point that they're at right now. So I'm gonna shut up, but I'm sick of this award. I'm sick of it. I need them to just give it to somebody.
Somebody gonna win it, and it looks like Lamar's gonna win it based off the way he's been playing. I enjoyed watching them put a beat down on San Francisco on Monday Night Football. That was fun.
It was nice. I just love to watch how they play football. And the other night that, like, so cornerback was the first position I learned, so I have a deep love for it. But I'm starting to learn linebacker, and so when you see prime like linebacker play, Queen and Roquan Smith are they're filthy out there, my friend. That defense is heavy.
And I don't even want to talk about the boogeyman in San Francisco, because Fred Warner is a monster.
He is in
San Francisco.
He is too. And I'm looking at them, but listen. There's a reason why San Fran went out there and got that DT that was floating around. I can't remember what his name is. It was a DT.
Sebastian Day. Yeah.
And that's because I don't know what the numbers are right now, but they giving up more on the ground than the Cowboys are right now. So I'm not gonna go there. We're not there. I'm not gonna go there. I'm just
We're not
gonna
gonna do that. We're not gonna do that. We're gonna keep it positive. We're not gonna do that. We're
say
not gonna do that.
that. But yeah, I love me some Fred. I love me some Fred. I love linebacker play, and I'm enjoying watching it.
Last couple minutes before I get you out of here, I always ask this question to my guests at the end because I always want to feel and have folks inspired by the guests that I have based off of their journeys and what they've gone through. What's something that has inspired you throughout the course of your career that you were able to share with individuals that could use some inspiration as they get ready to go into 2024?
Oh yeah, man. I would say there are plenty of times I come into work and I don't feel great. I am a disabled veteran. I deal with very high level nerve damage, and it's something that I've learned to navigate, and it took time. And I just want to tell people that, like, you're not always going to feel good. It's not always going to be perfect, but it's it's worth it. It's worth it, and it really is worth it in the end to get to this point. My injury is the reason why I'm here. It's the reason why I'm here, because I was going to go. I wanted to be a marshal. I don't want to do this. I was just going to talking football to my friends in the barbershop and stuff and passing, and that's all I wanted from it. But my friends and my people around me were like, "No, this is something that you should be doing." So people around you are going to matter. Your support system really matters. If they're not pouring into you, if they're not making you better, if they're not investing in your future, they don't need to be around you. They don't need to be around you. And so it's okay to cut ties and do those things when you're trying to grow. Number one. Number two, we all deal with health issues. We all deal with things um that make it hard to want to pursue our passions and pursue some of the things that we want to do. However, just do it. It sounds so cliche, and I know people don't like to hear it, but put yourself out there and try it and see how you feel. Because for me, I started doing it and I wasn't really getting responses like that at first, but it just felt good to feel like I was doing what I wanted to do. And so your support system is everything. And also, too, as far as your health, do everything that you can to pour into that, but don't let it stop you. Don't let it stop you from going and doing things. I've learned how to navigate my disability. I've learned how to navigate, even my ADHD. I got diagnosed with ADHD at 30. At 30, at 29 technically. And so
Yeah.
I know that a lot of different people deal with these similar things, whether it's health, whether it's mental health, whether it's, and so those three things for me, once I got a good handle on them, it's allowing me to flourish more. But I'm not perfect and I have my days. Have a good support system. Have people around you who love you and care about you and check on you like Kev does with me. Kev will just check on me and be like, "You all right? You alive?" And
Yes.
it means so much to me. It means so much to me. So there's nothing wrong with pivoting. There's nothing wrong with pivoting, and there's nothing wrong with your plans changing. Just make sure you have people around you that will support those plans and go after it. Don't let nobody stop you.
Well, I love that. And that's a perfect way to end. And I love the fact that you have been vulnerable. You have been open about the things that you have gone through and the journey that has gotten you to this place. And I think that's a big reason why you're here is that you've been willing to share those things for people to be inspired by you. Because I tell people the things that you go through, while it may suck in the moment, sometimes you go through things not just for yourself, but for someone else. And that's hard to accept when you're trying to learn and navigate through different things that for someone else, they may get inspired based off of what you've learned and what you've dealt with. And if you can be able to hang on and go through some of those things and get through it and get to the other side, not only will you be better for it, but you'll be able to help somebody else too. And that's really difficult to be able to digest in the moment, because sometimes you don't want to be going through stuff for the sake of just going through it, because you want to be able to do what you want to do and have the like all those things. So for you to be able to be vulnerable in that, I really appreciate it. And so many individuals are better because of what you have gone through and what you've been willing to share. And I'm just glad that I'm able to call you a friend and be able to work with you and be able to have some good times, covering this wild team in the Dallas Cowboys, because It's a
No.
different story every day with this football team.
Kev be making my day, bro. Like, I love getting to see Kev. I'll be like, Kevin. Kevin. And Kevin has been, but lead with kindness. You lead with kindness, man, because I think because I was kind to you when I met you, and vice versa, you feel safe to me. You feel like when I see you, I'm like, okay, my day's a little better because I'm like, I have that. I know you're gonna reciprocate the energy that I put into you, man. And it's been great. It's been great. I'm glad at the connections I made so far, and I appreciate you being so supportive of me because I'm telling you, it be meaning a lot. Like, y'all support got me through draft season real bad. Woo!
Well,
Nobody
look.
prepared me for the intensity of draft season.
Mm.
I loved it, but I wouldn't have been able to do it without the support system. I would not have been able to do it without people checking on me and stuff. Because to your point earlier about people not being so accepting and things of that nature, I am different, and I do talk about the game in a different way. But y'all just kept checking on me, make sure I was good, keep me encouraged, and it meant the world to me. So I got your six until you don't want me to have it no more. And
Well, you're damn good at what you do, and you're an even better person for it as well. So I appreciate you hanging out with me a little bit today. Tell the folks so they can find you, what you got going on.
oh yeah, so tater tots. Let me see. Do we got a around?
You didn't get a barnacles in today. I was really waiting for a whole barnacles to get dropped, and you didn't even drop one of those. So
I think okay. So no show on Monday. Just got the
mm-hmm.
for that. But we'll be back on Girls Talk Boys Talk at 4 p.m. Central Time on Tuesday. Um, I'm not sure how things will fall that way, but also too, you can find me on Twitter at Iisha Morrison. That's with two eyes. I put it down there in my handle just in case, and I did the lowercase I, so there's no. It's not Leisha. It is not Lisa. It is Iisha. So that's where you can find me. I'm very interactive on Twitter. If you want to reach out, if you have any questions, I typically will get to them if I can, if my ADHD not whoop my tail. And yeah, I appreciate y'all getting ready for draft season again, later than sooner. And
Mm-hmm.
but I'll be there.
Well, this has been a pleasure. We're going to do this again, just so you know. So get your mind right. We're going to do this again at some point down the road when you're not as busy, because this is a busy time for you. Cowboys draft season, all kinds of stuff going on. But Iisha, I appreciate you hanging out with me today on the Gray Area Podcast.
Yes. Bye, Kev. Bye,
y'all. That'll do it for this episode of the Gray Area Live Podcast. Again, thanks to Iisha Morrison for joining me today on Friends Friday. If you missed anything, you can go back and watch it on my YouTube channel at Kevin Gray Sports. You can also download and subscribe to the podcast wherever you get your podcast for free. Give it a 5-star rating and write a review for it while you're there. Last show of the year. I guess I'll see you in 2024 for new episodes of the Gray Area Podcast. Hopefully talking about the Cowboys, winning football games and that good stuff. Okay. So until 2024, I'll talk to you later. Peace.